If it's all right, I'll just do you mind? Should I could just
Yeah,
kind
go
of
with it.
rattle off whatever I can rattle off
Yeah,
to
yeah,
get
do
to
your
from.
thing.
Yeah. Well, okay, guys, this is another amazing episode of Story Mindsets podcast. Today we have Brian H. Potts. He is a partner at Perkins Qua, also an entrepreneur, a writer, and the founder of the Legal Mentor Network. There's a couple other things in there too. I don't want to jumble out, but he he also made. If I didn't say it yet, he made the legal keyboard. And what kind of just got my attention from Brian was he put this post out where he said that he got rejected from over 100 jobs, I believe, probably 200 jobs, if I recall. And I think just in society today, like so many people do want a good job. And when you get like the X amount of rejections, it's definitely something that is discouraging for the normal person. And, wanted to hear how Brian overcame that. And I'm reading now that he's one of the top 100, recognized lawyers in the country. And it's just super amazing to be able to bring Brian onto the podcast. So, Brian, man, welcome in from the Midwest, and happy to have you here, man.
Yeah, thanks. It's great to be here. My wife likes to joke that I'm famous on LinkedIn because I got rejected, which is actually accurate, but is also pretty funny.
I gotta ask you, did you plan for that to happen, and was it like spotlight good?
No,
feel good about that?
yeah, I mean, the quick story is basically I was digging through my garage and I found a pile of rejection letters I'd had from when I was in law school from 2002. So I flipped through them and I found the one from my current law firm where I'm now a partner. And so I thought it was pretty funny that I had a almost 20-year-old letter rejecting me from where I'm now a partner. So I'm kind of a ridiculous human, so I thought it would be fun to frame it. It's actually, obviously you can't see it on the podcast, but we're looking at each other. You can see it up on my wall right there. So I have a framed rejection letter on the wall at my law firm where I'm now a partner from my law firm from 20 years ago. And so I brought it into my office and I was like, this is pretty funny. I should just like take a picture of this and put it on LinkedIn. And that was it. And then something like 5 million people saw it. I was immediately inundated with emails asking for advice, podcast interview requests, et cetera, et cetera. So it's been a bit of a wild ride.
Man, that's crazy. But I got to ask you, like, why would, you're a partner now, and it's just like, what do you think it was that, people didn't even want to give you an interview? Because that's kind of like,
yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? So the reason is, and I talk to a lot of law students about this, and I know this isn't a lawyer podcast, so I won't bore you with all the details, but the bottom line is the hardest time to get a job as a lawyer is right out of law school, because 35,000 people graduate from law school every year, and they're all only looking for a job at the same time once when they graduate from law school. After that, a couple of years in, all 35,000 people are going to be doing different jobs, not looking for jobs at the same time. And those are sort of the people who are lawyers across the country with your same seniority. So they're sort of like the competitors, so to speak, for jobs. So when I graduated, I was at a relatively low-ranked law school. So that's why no one took me seriously. And then I just kind of claw my way up to the top using a lot of tricks that I've, since told a lot of law students about.
Yeah, man. I think like the job market's just it's a real puzzle. It's just like, it's not straightforward anymore where you could apply and you can, but then it just seems like that's the odds of success for that, even for the great students or the great, candidates. It just seems like there's a big hill to climb that way. Do you find that that's like a problem? Like, is there a way to actually solve that where people don't feel like shit after like like probably 2 months?
Yeah, I mean, I've been, since that letter went out on LinkedIn, which was at the beginning of COVID, I've literally met with 300 or 400 people one-on-one to give them some advice about how to get a job, because I can't say no when people ask for help. It's just it's a problem, but it's a good one to have, I guess. And so I mean it's interesting because this is a startup podcast, I think, and so I've actually been giving people a lot of advice on how to get a job based on similar sort of tricks and tips on how to raise money for a startup. It's a very similar sort of process.
Right. That's interesting. I used to be a venture capital analyst, and people would pitch me for funding, and I just kind of look at that kind of experience, like somebody who wants funding versus somebody who wants a job, which is almost the same thing in terms of getting capital from somebody.
Yeah, it's like I tell people, I mean, first of all, when you ask me how do you raise money, it's like dating. You have to meet a bunch of times and build a relationship with somebody. And you don't just meet somebody for the first time and say, will you write a check for my company?
Right.
Instead, the way I've done it successfully is asking for advice and getting a lot of advice from as many investors as possible. And then you build a relationship, you take their advice, over time, they start to trust you and realize that you're actually going to do the things you say you were going to do. And it's sort of the same process that I recommend with a lot of law students, is like reach out. Cold is fine. It's fine to spam people. I have a title of, I ended up writing a book about this because and one of the titles of one of the chapters is spam, 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 because like it gets bad connotation. But when you're looking for a job, there's nothing more important in your life. And emailing a bunch of random lawyers and say, can you give me some advice? I'm really interested in looking at going to Miami and practicing entertainment law. Can you tell me what firms are good at entertainment law? Like, again, I just make that up. But the point is, then you get on a phone call and you start getting advice from people and you learn a lot about the market in the area. And something like 70 to 85% of all jobs come from people you know or have met. So if you're not meeting lawyers, or if you're a startup, if you're not meeting investors, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I'd love to just, I guess, hear about you and your book. Like, you're a lawyer, right? And like, you happen to write a book. It seems like that's a whole different beast in itself. I'm actually writing one too. Did you? How did you write the book? Did you like get people to help you out, or like?
It's so I was on probably 150 of the 300 or 400 meetings that I told you about that I've done with these law students and young lawyers, and my wife came up to me afterwards and was like, you say a lot of the same stuff over and over. You really should just write it down in a book. And I was like, great, just what I need, another project. But she was right. And so I spent the next 6 months, it took me about 9 months, honestly, from start to finish. And I churned out a book about how to get a job as a lawyer. And I'm really satisfied with it. Like, I didn't write the book to make money. The numbers don't add up when you're a lawyer and you bill by the hour. Writing a book is not the most profitable endeavor. However, I feel like I did it was a nice thing to do for young lawyers. And so I spent a ton of time. It probably took me 1,000 hours, I guess, to write 100. And it's only 140 pages or something, but it's super dense with a lot of information. And I wrote it in a way, my wife says it sounds like I'm talking, which I think is kind of a good thing. So like I cuss, I make bad jokes, like I try to keep your attention because it's a boring topic.
Yeah. Like, how did you, I guess, like, with people who have like these, I guess, just entrepreneurial endeavors, right, where they want to, either write a book or create a startup or like sell t-shirts, right? Like, what did you, I have to ask you, like, did you like think of turning back on that idea, just since like in theory it's fun, right? But painful.
No, it was painful.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun. Honestly, like it started out being a fun project and then it was like, oh God, what have I done? But so actually it started when I first started, a company reached out to me randomly on LinkedIn and offered to write it for me.
Oh, okay.
So there are companies out there that you can pay to write it for you. I didn't think I didn't want to do that because I didn't think it would work as effectively in what I'm doing because I was writing about how to get a job as a lawyer. Um, so I didn't take them up on that, but I did have a publisher who helped with a lot of the mundane stuff.
Hmm.
And so that was super helpful, like the get a website, how do you design the
Yeah,
back
sure.
cover and the front cover and like all the stuff. It's kind of, it's similar to a
Yeah,
startup world where you get in and you're doing a company and like you just kind of have to figure it out, and what you need and what you got to do. And so that's what I did. I mean, you can self-publish on Amazon now pretty
is
easily.
that you did? Oh, you got a
No,
publisher.
no, I got a publisher. I mean, the reason I got a publisher was because they get you syndicated into all the bookstores,
No way.
in addition to Amazon. So it's on, you can buy it on Barnes and Noble or Walmart or wherever. Um, it's all, so that was the main benefit of doing it that way. But at the end of the day, writing a book is, it doesn't just appear. It's
Yeah,
a lot of
exactly.
work.
What was that moment like? I guess when you held the book your first time, or
It's pretty cool. I was actually like,
signed somebody's book or something like
yeah, I still think that's weird.
that.
But I'd do it if people ask me. Um, I think it was really cool when I first saw it in print. I will say it was cooler than I thought it was going to be. I was
Uh-huh.
kind of like, oh yeah, I'm writing a book, whatever, blah blah blah. I'm going to write this book because honestly, maybe I don't have to meet with 400 law students.
Yeah.
They could just read my book.
You ever
Some
thought
of
of
them at least.
being a
Yeah.
law professor or becoming?
I did. I mean, when I was I actually do teach a class at law school
Oh,
at Vermont Law School in the summer. But no, I like my day job at a firm, in my law firm. But yeah, I mean, it's challenging. Writing a book is like the thing is like I got done with it
uh-huh.
and I was only really halfway done because then you got to edit it and edit it and edit it and read it and read it, and reading a book to catch typos and stuff takes a long time.
I know, yeah, yeah, it definitely does. I'm an English major, and that's
Yeah.
like the part I hated.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Actually the writing part was kind of fun, come up with new ideas and say ridiculous things and then edit them out. But yeah, it's very similar. Honestly, all these skill sets, startups,
yeah,
writing a book, honestly, succeeding in the legal profession, it's all a lot of the same skills that you need. And it's really just, and I'm sure you've heard people say this before, but you got to just keep taking the next step, keep
I
doing stuff.
exactly. I had a question here. I'd love to like get your like opinion on is uh people get into like entrepreneurship from like different they do different things before they get into it, right? Like sometimes they'll work at a tech corporation, or they'll just go to school and try an experiment. But for you, having training as in law school, as well as um being a litigator and a lawyer for X amount of years, what do you think that training and experience gave you when you started to do like making a legal keyboard or writing a book, or just just anything that had to do with
Yeah, I
entrepreneurship?
mean, it definitely gave me confidence that I can figure stuff out. I mean, because a lot of what I do is in law is just figuring stuff out that other people either don't know how to or don't want to. So there was some of that. It was a little nerve wracking because, frankly, my first foray into entrepreneurship was the keyboard. So for those that don't know, I invented a keyboard for lawyers. And what does that mean? That means I took a regular keyboard that had a number pad and realized that lawyers don't need a number pad, and this is really an accounting keyboard. Why do I have a number pad when I'm a lawyer? And so I said, we can just take a whole bunch of things that lawyers do all the time and put it directly on the keyboard to save them time. That was my first, and I had this thought and I was like, I think I can make this work. And so I just started doing the next thing. Because I'm a lawyer, I made
Yeah.
people sign. I made a bunch of my friends sign NDAs, which was funny in
Sure.
retrospect. I don't
Yeah.
do that anymore. But and then we tried out like I happened to have a friend who was a computer engineer, hardware engineer, and so he
Oh,
made me
okay.
he made me a little dongle which if you don't know has USBs on both sides, basically just a little computer chip.
Right.
And so we would plug in old or standard keyboard into the dongle and then plug it in, and it would translate the keys, and we put stickers on the keys and let lawyers try it for a while. But it was, it's like this kind of thing. The hardest thing with the keyboard was trying to figure out how to get it made.
Okay.
Because
You had to
keyboards
put
are
your own money into that, right? Or
yeah, and so I had to get some
borrow
money. So
somebody.
I had to raise, so I raised a little bit of money, not a ton. It was probably 60 grand that I had to
Oh.
come up with, which is a lot of money, but
Yeah,
not
that's what
like,
kind of is, yeah.
but not like, gonna bankrupt me forever. So it was kind of perfect. So I basically got a bunch of friends to throw 5 grand or 10 grand, and we ordered 3,000 keyboards after we designed them from China. They came over on a boat, and
What?
and they sit in a warehouse in Nevada. And anytime somebody orders one, my phone goes cha-ching. It's pretty awesome. And like when they got there, of course, at the time, like again, I don't know anything about. I'm a litigator. I don't know anything about keyboards.
Sure.
This was just like an idea that I followed through on. But I just was like, hey, we're gonna launch this keyboard, so I'm gonna email some legal tech reporters, and I happened to email this guy named Bob Ambrogi, who is like the top legal tech writer, and he loved it, and he posted an article about it the next day, and it was the most viewed article he's ever had.
What?
And we sold out almost of all the keyboards like within a month, just because of the crazy press we got about
what do lawyers say about the keyboard? Are they like, it saves me?
Yeah, they love it. I mean, they love it. It's super. It just makes it more efficient. It's basically like simple things like turn track changes on and off in Microsoft Word, or add a comment or add a footnote.
Oh,
You can set up hotkeys, but a lot of lawyers are on network computers that wipe them out, or they're frankly not very good at tech and don't even know how to set up a hotkey. So I just put that key right on the keyboard. Turn track changes on and off, add a section symbol, add a paragraph symbol. So they like it. It's super easy. I had to make it without software, so you just plug it in and it works. But yeah, so that was startup number one. Isn't really, now that I know enough about startups, I'm like, that isn't a real experience that most people have, where they just like make a product, send a couple of emails to reporters, and then all of a sudden they sell it.
Yeah. How long did that take you? Just curious. Like
a year from idea,
one
year from idea to actually selling the product, which I've heard is really fast. It seemed really slow for me, but
man, the way you explained it, you make me think that it happened in 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. It seemed like it should happen. I was like, all I got to do is print different keys on this keyboard. Like this can't be this complicated.
Yeah.
But you gotta get a barcode, you gotta get design, you gotta get all kinds of approvals to make electronic products, and then you gotta find it. Like it just stuff takes forever.
Yeah. I guess, Brian, one thing I want to hear from you, like get to or understand, is like what kept you like wanting to take the next step, as you say, just since the average person with their level of motivation, they say screw it, like I don't, you know what I mean, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, I joked that like it's in my genes. I got my grandmother knits all day and bakes cookies. Her freezer is full of cookies, and so instead of knitting and baking all day, I just do a bunch of stuff that's startups or work related or whatever. I just like, as a hobby, keep doing building new things. So
yeah, that's amazing, man.
Which I'm sure you probably like too. I mean, it's kind of a trait in the startup world, I think, is people who enjoy building new things and enjoy sticking their neck out a little bit.
Yeah, I think for me, it's, I guess, like I kind of am from San Francisco, so you see all the startup people and like all these crazy ideas taking off here, and I don't know, I just grew curious as to why it was getting successful, and how come there's so many people who want to make content or quit their 9 to 5, or it's a interesting like economy, or worker economy now, especially.
Yeah, and I've had the benefit of I'm a partner at a big law firm, so I have a day job with income. So
Uh-huh.
this has all been sort of side hustles, so to speak, although I don't treat them like that.
Yeah.
I obviously follow through, but it's that takes some of the pressure off when you don't have to quit your day job and you know where your money's coming from every day. That's a lot different than working for a startup, which I've seen because people
Sure.
work for the startups that I've started, and it's scary because you're like month to month, are we going to get funding or in 6 months or whatever,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I guess like it'd be cool to talk about like you as a lawyer in terms of what do you do for as a partner? Because I know like lawyers have different responsibilities at firms because of titles and what does a partner at Perkins Claw do exactly, or
It's
what do you
cooey
do?
like fooey, by the
Cooey,
way.
cooey, my
Everybody
bad.
always says it wrong. Most people say coal.
Cooey.
Cooey like fooey. I mean, I started out doing energy and environmental work, so mostly representing utilities, building big power projects.
Mhm.
Um, Now I'm sort of I like to joke, I'll do anything I can get somebody to hire me for. Because that's really what being a lawyer is all about. It's
Right.
you're consultants. It's just a service industry. So um, I've been pretty lucky because I've got a nice suite of clients
Yeah.
that I sort of manage all their work, and a few big cases that I work on. But overall, my work-life balance is pretty amazing at Perkins. So that allows me to do some of these other things. And actually, I have, because my law firm's so big, it's over 1,000 lawyers, and we have obviously lots of different types of law. I have, through doing startups and raising money, met some amazing people I never would have met who are, high net worth investors, who are working at VC
Nice.
funds, and all of whom also might need lawyers. So it's actually turned out to be pretty good marketing to start my companies. And ironically, I like to joke that like more people have hired me because I invented a keyboard than
Really?
have ever hired me because of any of the professional writing I've done or any of that other stuff.
Yeah, what is that like? Like, did you envision that being a result from making the keyboard or not
No,
really?
I mean, not at all. I didn't see that coming. I mean, I think it's just that like lawyers get hired often by other lawyers, but also by business people. And I think business people and other lawyers both sort of think if you can start a company and be successful at it, I can trust you with my legal work.
Huh.
I,
Yeah.
it wasn't intuitive to me that that would happen, but I also think it's partly just more people know, again, this is a service industry. More people know who I am because I invented the keyboard. More people are willing to meet with me because they want to hear about this crazy keyboard and all the
Sure.
other stuff I've done, which I should probably mention too. So the sort of doing startups has led to a lot of opened a lot of doors that
What
wouldn't have otherwise been open.
well, one thing I want to hear or just ask Brian is like what exactly got you like interested in the idea of entrepreneurship because um I don't know, it seems like everybody has like a different reason or like
Yeah,
different catalysts. Like did you
yeah,
just
mine. You're gonna laugh maybe, but so I spent a whole bunch of time after law school writing articles, like opinion pieces
yeah,
for newspapers and stuff, and I realized I'm spending all this time, I'm writing all these articles and giving my ideas away, and I'm not getting anything for it other than I'm helping society, which is cool,
mhm,
and by putting ideas out there, etc., and maybe name recognition. And so around the time I invented the keyboard, I was like, I should stop writing articles and start starting companies and just, use my ideas to actually both hopefully benefit the world, but also myself. Um, so that has actually led to more of the more recent projects, which are, I mean, frankly, I didn't want to be a keyboard salesman when I grew up.
sure.
That wasn't my goal. It's still not my goal. But some of the newer things I'm working on are much more aligned with my sort of personal beliefs, and so those have been cool.
Nice. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's a really interesting career you have. I don't think every lawyer makes the keyboard or
Yeah, I think I've
writes a book, right?
started. I think I'm on company 5 now
What's
since
company
the
five
keyboard.
or
Well, I mean, so
or
the story is basically I started with the keyboard. The keyboard just sort of worked, and so I was like, man, starting companies is great. I should do this again. So my wife and I started an app uh, called Goods Unite Us,
okay.
which is provides the political affiliations of thousands of brands and companies. So you can download it for free in the App Store. We've had over 500,000 people download it and
Oh,
use it.
that makes sense. Yeah,
And
yeah.
basically, you download the app, and if you're going to buy shoes or going to the bank or going to buy a car, you can see what the politics are of the company and its senior executives in the
Okay.
app. So we started that, and the idea was like, basically the data's out there. People should know, if you're a Republican and you're buying a bunch of products that are helping Democrats, you want to know that, and vice versa.
Sure.
And so we've been doing that. We got a bunch of traction, but we couldn't figure out how to make money.
Okay.
We got a bunch of users, people loved it, but we're not charging anything for the app. And so we tried ads and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
ads or
And
something.
then during COVID, it dawned on me that we should pivot a bit into financial products. And so we launched, do you know what an ETF is?
ETF. Yeah, yeah. It's like a stock. No, it's like a mutual fund, but it
Yeah,
trades like a stock.
exactly. So I didn't know what an ETF was 2 years ago, and
No,
now I have basically invented one, which
for
is
law firms,
no,
they're not traded, are they?
no, no, no,
Oh,
no, no. For it's called the ticker is DEMS, DEMZ, and it is an S&P index fund for Democrats. So we took
what?
the data we had,
Okay.
and we called out the S&P 500. We said, there are 500 companies in the S&P 500,
Uh-huh.
and something like 80% of all people's money in the stock market is in S&P index funds, which are just funds made up of the 500
Is
companies in
this
the
a real
S&P 500.
ETF that I could
Yes, trades on
buy
NASDAQ.
something
Yeah,
like this?
exactly. Trades on NASDAQ. It's wild.
How did you
So
do that, man? Like,
I'll tell you, well, I'm getting there. So anyway, we figured out that nobody had been using this data, which is verifiable political contribution data, to make a financial product. And so I met this guy through one of our investors named Jason Britton, who retired at age 36 doing from Wall Street doing thematic investing. It's called ESG, environmental, social, and governance
Oh, sure.
investing. And as soon as I told him about this idea, we had him at like hello. And he was
Okay.
like, we have to do this. And so he's the guy that actually knew. I didn't know what an ETF was at the time. He's the
Uh-huh.
guy that actually knew how to build it and structure it. And then we launched it on election day 2020. We raised $2 million from outside investors,
No way.
none of whom we knew. And now somehow I have a stock on NASDAQ with the ticker DEMS, DEMZ, and it's an index fund. So basically it's designed to track the S&P 500 just like an S&P index fund, but it's only made up of the Democratic companies in the S&P 500. So we take the 500 S&P
Yeah.
companies, there's 120 or so that give 75% or more to Democrats, and
Oh,
then we
okay.
sector weight of the 120, there's only about 50 in the fund, and we sector weight it so it looks and feels like the S&P 500. So
Yeah.
basically, if you're a Democrat and you don't want your retirement to sit in an S&P index fund, which owns ExxonMobil,
Uh-huh.
AT&T, and a bunch of Republican companies, you can buy DEMS instead and get the same risk profile, but with just the Democratic portions of the S&P 500.
No way. That's insane. When did you do that? When did this? So
This all
election day
happened,
2020?
yeah, 2020, all during the pandemic. The whole thing happened from idea. From my first idea, we were 6 months later, we had a stock. It was wild. It was like a
Yeah,
fire
man.
hose in the
How do
face
you...
of stuff. But I mean, again, this one, I think the point of Goods Unite Us, which was the app, is really that if money is going to be in politics, people should be able to know what it's
Mhm.
doing. And the same thing with investment products. Most people have more money in investment products than they spend in a year on. And so, like, if you own a bunch of Republican stocks, but you're a Democrat, you should know that, and you should have
Sure.
alternatives, and vice versa. Honestly, we try to be nonpartisan, but our only product so far has been DEMS.
What was that? Was that like hard for you to do? Or like executing this idea, it seems like there needs to be like, actually, I don't
It's a
even
lot
know.
of it's a lot of project management. There were a lot. I mean, this one actually helped me because there's a lot of lawyer stuff
Sure.
involved, as you can imagine, to launch a stock on Nasdaq, the SEC. There's a lot of rules, and um, so honestly, most of it was project managing, like
Uh-huh.
the make sure the lawyers are crossing their T's and dotting their I's, make sure the website and the branding and all the advertising stuff is lined up, the all that kind of stuff. So um
Would you make the Republican version of Dems and call it Reds?
Reds,
Reds.
REDZ.
Is that
Yeah, so there
true?
actually are we've talked about it and it's possible there are two other ETFs that are Republican supposedly.
Oh, okay.
They're Republican in name only. They're not there's no regulation of this space. So one of them, it basically has 400 of the 500 S&P 500 and they call themselves conservative, but
Uh-huh.
they have 7 of the top 10 same holdings that Dems has. So basically they are Republican in name only. In other words, they don't care. They don't even look at the contribution data of companies. They just pick which ones are in the news and drop the ones they think are too woke.
Sure, sure. Which
So
idea did you get out there first? The Goods
the
Unitas
app,
app, and
yeah, the
then
Goods Unitas app, which is still available and still kicking it. And now we have a new plan that we're out raising money to.
by we
Um,
is you and your wife, or is it like you
yeah,
and
me and my
friends?
wife and the board and the investors, and there's a lot of people involved now.
Oh
So,
gosh.
so we're actually out raising money to turn the Goods Unitas app. Well, basically give it more functionality. So it would
Have
be
you put it on WeFunder or something like that? Or?
not yet. I mean, we're raising money from like VCs
Oh, no way.
and trying to, we're basically looking for a partner who knows the fintech space really well so that we can, get some of their, um,
Uh-huh.
some of the synergies there.
No way,
So
that's crazy. It's like you have like 7 jobs.
I know, right? That's what I was
But
like.
where do you get the energy? Like, do you drink a bunch of coffee? Like
I
the
drink a lot of coffee, but I sleep like 9 hours a night. I'm just super efficient when I'm awake.
Oh,
So
okay.
like I'm super focused and I just like doing things. And honestly, um, I mean, the ones where we've taken in money are are the ones that stress me out because it's other people's money and
Sure.
I want it to work. Right. That's the ones. The keyboard is sort of like uh, awesome, but the people who have put money in can get paid back anytime. So there's no real stress. It's just to like keep building it. But when you take in money and you need to make more money than you take in, that's stressful, because I don't want any of
Sure.
our investors to lose out. So that is where most of my non-Perkins Coie focus goes, is how to make Dems work, how to make the Goods app work, and how to raise this money.
Yeah, I gotta ask you, like, how do you, I guess, ensure that things are heading in the right direction when it seems like, you might have, I mean, as an entrepreneur, right? Like people have what do you call it, as much as control they want to have, right? But
Yeah, it's I mean, one thing somebody told me a long time ago, and I didn't really understand at the time, but I do now. It's a roller coaster.
sure.
Like today, there's some really good stuff going on with Dems and Goods, and I'm like, this is great, we're gonna kill it. And then, a week
Oh
ago, something
yeah.
happens, and you're like, shit, this isn't gonna work. So it's like it seems like you're on this never-ending roller coaster,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it takes longer than you think. Like, everybody thinks you make a company and then it just blows up and you're rich. And that's not how life works.
Not at all. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's a lot of work. You just got to keep at it and not give up and keep making the decision that's in front of you.
I guess what you're saying. One thing, Brian, I want to ask you too is, what kind of inspired you to become a lawyer? Because, like growing up, people are told be a doctor, be a lawyer. But when they try it out, it doesn't always go that way, or, like really, it's a really hard job to do. So kudos to you. And it's a really hard job to, even get approved to do from like getting a passing the board,
Yeah,
passing.
there's a lot of gateways, so to speak, or things,
Yeah,
hurdles you got to jump over.
gatekeepers. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to say that like I grew up wanting to be a lawyer, but that's not the case. I went to college. I partied too much my first 2 years. I didn't get that good of grades until my junior and senior year. I wasn't particularly great at anything in college. Like I was an econ major and I was above average at it. I was pretty good at it, but I wasn't like, you know, gonna go get a PhD in economics. So it was kind of a default. I knew I didn't want to be a doctor because I didn't want to be
Uh-huh.
in a hospital all day or
Yeah, me neither.
dealing with gross stuff.
Yeah,
So it was kind of a default, and it was back in 2001 when they were handing out jobs like hotcakes. So it didn't even dawn on me that I wouldn't get a
okay.
job. It was more just like, oh, well, I don't really want to work, so I may as well go to law school. That's pretty much how my 22-year-old brain worked, or whatever at the time, 23. So it turned out well. It turned out I was pretty good at the law, and I'm a late bloomer, um, in that it took me a while to figure out, oh, I actually should put in some work and
Sure, sure.
start, trying to find something I like doing.
Gotcha. Hey, Brian, I guess I forgot Zoom's like a 40-minute time. Do you think we could just log out and log back in? Is that good with
Sure,
you?
yeah, that's fine.
All right, yeah, same link, so I'll just click.
Okay,
I'll just pick it up if
yeah,
that's
no
good.
problem.
Just yeah. So I guess you were just I'll restart. So you were talking about how you wanted to be a lawyer and you just went to law school, and that was kind of your decision. um
Yeah, it
like
wasn't that complicated.
did anybody push you to do that, or did you have
No,
any
I didn't have any lawyers in my family. Other than I guess my step grandfather was a lawyer, but no one in like my direct family. It literally was a buddy of mine went to Vermont Law School where I went, and he was a year ahead of me, and I went and visited him, and I was like, this place is cool, and that was
Vermont, like by New Hampshire, that Vermont?
yeah, Vermont, and it's not the Vermont Law School is like a private, separate law school from like UVM, which is in Burlington. So it's
Uh-huh.
one of the only law schools that is not in a city. So it's in this like little rural town in Vermont. You can hike up a mountain from campus. There's a like white river that runs through it. You can fish in. It's super outdoorsy. And I was like, this seems great. Why wouldn't I go here for 3 years? They'll give me loans. And so
Yeah,
that's what I
yeah.
did.
You, you didn't have any loans, or you didn't have
No,
to?
I had a lot of loans.
Yeah,
My
sure.
parents didn't pay. Uh, so we just borrowed a bunch of, they loan you money. Um, I ended up owing probably 300 grand at the end of the whole thing.
And I'm guessing all your
I
success,
have
it's
paid it up. Yeah, I've paid it off. I haven't paid them all off though. They're still going.
man, somebody's like hammering wood outside, unfortunately.
Oh,
Let
that's all
me
right. They just want to get in and join the podcast.
That's exactly it, man. We should sue them. Just kidding. Do you hear it, by the way, on your side?
I can hear it. Yeah.
Okay, let me like move.
I can't hear you now though. Okay.
Let me just move to another room so it doesn't
Yeah. No
bug
worries.
us. Hey, just had to go across the house.
No worries.
But,
Did you know, throw
yeah,
something at that guy or what?
yeah, it's a landlord. He's actually like, I think he's gonna
Oh
mow
yeah,
the
well then
lawns.
don't mess with him.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Um, okay, let me just fix that and then. Yeah, I guess we're back, man. I didn't even know he was coming today, so it's interesting. But yeah, I guess like as you were saying about what were you saying actually? Just getting
Yeah,
into
yeah.
lawyer.
We were just talking about how I got to law school, which was kind of defaulted into it.
Did you? Yeah, so like I guess like I think when people want to make a big decision like that and get into debt, right? Like it seems like it's a thing that they choose not to do because there's gonna be like a windfall of loans or whatever. Like what advice would you have
Yeah,
for
there's
somebody
a
saying,
whole bunch of press and people debating whether you should go to law school or not. I'm in the camp that anything for your brain is better for your life.
uh-huh,
And so getting 3 years of education, even if you get a bunch of debt, is always going to be worth it, in my view.
sure.
I seriously doubt there are very many 60 and 70-year-old people who went to law school who think that they shouldn't have because of their loans. Um, and I like to joke, they can't foreclose on your brain or put you in jail for not paying law school loans. So the worst thing that's going to happen is, they're going to make you pay a little bit every month out of your paycheck, but they can't take back everything you learned. And I would be willing to wager over your entire life, you're going to make more money if you have a law degree and more, and the ROI will be worth it.
Nice. I guess Brian, one or a couple more things I'd love to just get into and dive into with your career journey is what when you were talking about earlier getting rejected 200 times and back in the day, like when was that moment or what was that moment exactly that I'd say or that you would say that turned around
It wasn't like one moment all of a sudden I'm, marketable. It was long struggle. I'll say like I was pissed isn't the right word, surprised, kind of disenfranchised or dissatisfied. And I got all the rejection letters, which is probably why I kept them. But I don't think there was a moment when like the light switched on and all of a sudden the big firms were like, oh, Potts, we
yeah.
got to have that guy.
Yeah.
It was sort of a slow, I worked at one firm and I did well, and then I went and got another degree, and then I came back and worked at another firm and I did well, and then I finally got recruited to a big law firm, and then I was still an associate, so I had to pull my way up to partner. So like it's a long
Yeah.
process, and that's what I tell a lot of law students. They don't understand that they don't need their dream job right when they graduate from law school. They need their dream job 3 to 5 years after they graduate from law school. That's the time period which you're most marketable. And so a lot of it is just like putting stuff on your resume and working hard to get your resume as good as you can in that window of 3 to 5 years after law school, so that you can go get the job you want when you're most marketable for it.
Gotcha. So I guess you're saying just to I guess refresh and like sum it up, you went ahead and got another degree and you kind of just kept
Just like
going or
a master's in law. It's like a 1 year program, mostly because I wanted to go live out in your neck of the woods
oh,
in
okay.
Berkeley. So I was in Berkeley for a year, and I was like, again, was like I was at a firm in Kentucky, and we had decided, my wife now and I, that we didn't want to live in Kentucky anymore. So I applied to a couple master's programs, and I got into one at Berkeley that was a year, and I was like, wait, I can go back to school for a year and not work. This is going to be great. And so we went and hung out in San Fran area for a year, and then came back to Madison, Wisconsin, which is where my wife is from.
Oh, no way.
And again, even after that, I was still not able to break into the big law firms. I work for a mid-sized law firm here for another year. And then in that 3 to 5 year after law school window, I got called by one of the biggest firm in town at the time, Foley and Lardner.
Oh,
And
yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah.
yeah, they hired me as an associate, and then I made partner there, and then I lateraled over to Perkins Coie 5 years ago. So it's a lot of movement to get here, but that's sort of the point, is like a lot of people think if they can't get the job in law school, they're never going to get it, and that is completely wrong.
And you'd say it's wrong because you proved it right, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's wrong because I've seen it a lot. It's not just me.
Yeah.
And I think, your career is a long career. So, I mean, think about it. When you get out of college, your first job is not likely to be your last job. And it's the same as true in law school. So you just kind of got to think of it as each thing is a stepping stone in your career to get where you want to go. And then hopefully at some point you step into a job that you actually want or like.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, did you have one more thing here? Did you ever like think of, lawyers, they just, do a pro bono practice, right? Or they can create their own law firm sometimes. Do you ever think of doing that, or you?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely thought about it. It's there's a trade-off. So when you start your own firm, you basically can only sell sort of services of yourself and other people working at your firm. So there's a benefit to being at a big firm because there's 1,000 lawyers here, and I can sell any of those lawyers, and I get a benefit because if I bring in work, I'll get paid some more, even if I don't do it. So there's a trade-off, right? I mean, it's hard to know what the right thing to do is, but so far I've found that being at Perkins, I can bring in more work than I would be able to at my own firm. Because if you start your own firm, you got to have people to do the work. And of course I have some people that I could get, but you're not going to get work out of Boston or DC or LA.
Sure.
If I'm have a shop set up in Madison.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, I guess just seeing you be an entrepreneur outside of the work and thinking about that.
Yeah. I mean, of course I've thought about it. I've started a bunch of companies. I could start a law firm if I wanted, but yeah, the sort of economics and incentives are, big firms make a lot of sense as a partner because you can, like I said, you can bring in work anywhere in the firm. And so it's a much bigger, better platform.
Gotcha. Yeah, man, this has been a really cool conversation. Just we normally talk like startup CEOs, and it's kind of refreshing, just to hear somebody who does something cool, and I guess
yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, one of the biggest issues that we face raising money is that I'm not a full-time CEO as the founder. A lot of VCs, I mean, you put on your VC hat from before, but a lot of sort of investors have a rule that they don't invest in quote unquote side projects.
Yeah, side projects.
Yeah. So, I mean, there has been some of that. I will say the investors who have worked with me long enough, and frankly, most people at this point sort of know that I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do, and that I can handle it. But it is, that is one of the bigger hangups. So there's benefits and costs. Would I quit, but I'm not going to quit my day job at Perkins to, take a huge pay cut and work for a company that doesn't have enough funding. So that's an interesting problem to deal with, but so far it's worked out okay, because once investors come in and have worked with me, none of them have that concern anymore.
Nice, man. Yeah, I mean, we're coming towards the end of the podcast. Just want to ask you the typical things we ask people at the end. So I guess like this question is a question that you would, I guess here's a question. So if you were to give advice to Brian, the 20-year-old at I guess in undergrad, what would you tell yourself in terms of careers and life? And,
yeah. Drink less my freshman year and get better grades.
And that
Uh,
would have changed all the success you already had. Like, I'm
That's
not, you
true.
know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. I mean, I do think it made it harder for me. It definitely made it harder for me having a lower GPA in college. If you're interested in going to law school, good or bad, the where you go to law school, literally the name of the law school,
Sure.
matters more than almost anything else. And so if you don't have really good grades in college, you can't get into a really good law school, and then you start behind
Huh.
because so that is part of the reason I had to do so much work to get where I am, is because I partied too much my freshman and sophomore year of college. I had a
Okay.
great time. I'm not sure I wouldn't do it again, but if you know, you're on the fence, if you're a freshman or sophomore and you're on the fence about whether you want to go to the party or do the work, you know, it's good
Where'd
to know.
you go for undergrad again? In
I went to a small school, liberal arts school in Kentucky called Center College,
you're from
CENTRE.
Kentucky
Yeah,
originally?
I'm from Kentucky originally. Yeah,
No way. That's awesome, man.
yeah,
Yeah, they're I've never been there, but
yeah. It's a cool place. Louisville's where I'm from, and it's actually gotten even a lot more fun since I left. It's kind of like Nashville, like good music scene.
nice.
You know, college sports. I'm a big Louisville basketball fan. So
Oh, cool. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Quick, one more. One random thing. Just do you watch Better Call Saul by any chance?
I've watched Better Call Saul. I also a big fan of Justified, which takes place in Kentucky. If you haven't seen that, you should watch it.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely give that yeah. Better Call. Are you caught up to date on all those episodes?
Not all the Better Call Saul. I haven't watched the most recent season.
That was crazy, man. It's halfway done. I'm yeah, pretty blown
Yeah,
away
well,
with
don't
what they're doing.
spoil it.
I'm
Don't
not gonna
spoil
say
it for
anything.
everybody.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The last one here, Brian, is if you were to, I guess, like tell people what your startup mindset is when it comes to like these side projects or even like the future plans you have, like what would you say your startup mindset is?
Keep doing stuff and don't let you know, bad isn't the right word, but don't let the barriers and the never ending sort of headwinds affect you. Just keep doing stuff, keep building, keep building. That's how companies get built. And you know, one day you're going to be like feeling like you're a complete failure and an idiot. And then the next day you're like, this is amazing. So that is totally normal. But really it's not the idea, it's the execution.
Gotcha. I love it. And last part here in the podcast, it's been amazing having you here, man. What I guess how can people, learn more about you and buy the keyboard or buy the book or
Yeah.
buy
Well,
DEMS or whatever it is
yeah,
you got.
DMC is on NASDAQ. Anybody can buy it through any trading platform. My keyboard, I'm the only legal keyboard. So if you Google legal keyboard or lawyer keyboard or go to Amazon, they're on there. You can get them. The app is free. Goods Unite Us. You can download. And
No way.
my book's available on Amazon. So that's sort of and oh yeah, I shouldn't forget. And if you want to hire an amazing lawyer, you just email me and I'll
You
take care of
got a
you.
bunch of them.
I do also I don't think I've ever turned away somebody who emails and wants advice
That's
on
awesome.
honestly anything. So if any of your listeners, want advice, if they're in a startup or if they're not in a startup or they want to go to law school or are in law school, happy to chat with them. They just got to send me an email.
Sweet. Yeah. And your emails, I guess,
Yeah,
I don't know off the top
bpots
of my head, but
at perkinscoie.com. You can just Google my name and the law firm make sure that you see my
sure.
email as much as possible.
Man, Brian, thank you so much, man. This has been amazing. And I know you're a busy guy with all that you got to do. So thank you so much again.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me on. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely.